Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1958 Morris Minor 1000. Now this is a car that's produced from 1948 to 1971, and more than 1.3 million of them were produced, and yeah, it was the first British car to sell over 1 million units. Now this is a Series 3 version of the vehicle, made from 1956 until its final production year of 1971, and yeah, it's basic motoring for the masses, quite frankly. This was introduced not long after the war, when rations were still there and everything like that. So for everyone was needing really a cheap, easy to use, somewhat reliable, and quite decent mileage car. And this offered it in spades, to the point that it lasted 23 years, even when the Mini and other cars were outpacing it in terms of horsepower and new futures, etc. like this. This just kept going on, and yeah, unfortunately, Morris couldn't follow up this car with anything good, because it was a Morris Marina after this, and that was absolutely terrible. So yeah, it didn't last long with Morris in terms of doing this kind of thing, but yeah, it's a cracking vehicle nonetheless, despite that. And yeah, as you can see, it's very simple interior, very little in the way of creature comforts, but everything that you need is there. Got your speedo, you got a decent amount of storage, you got plenty of space in here, and yeah, as the years went on, the interior and everything else really got more and more basic and less varied. The interior, for instance, slowly got cheaper and more durable interior materials, and the body colours were reduced drastically. All this was in favour of ramping up production. The less variants of a car you have to make, the more you can make of them. So yeah, so this was the not the most powerful engine you could ever get in a Morris Minor, but it was the second most powerful, as it has 37 horsepower and 48 pounds-feet of torque from a 948cc inline 4 engine. And yeah, it's not a massive amount of power, granted. You could have got a bigger engine in the Series 4, which had about 11 horsepower more and about 12 pounds-feet of torque more. So yeah, that was a more powerful version with a 1.1 litre engine, but this was still fairly decent for the time, and yeah, it needed this new engine in it because the era of the motorway was coming in, and yeah, the Series 2 could only do 63 mile an hour, whereas this can do at least motorway speed, which is really rather crucial for a mainstream car like this. So yeah, this game's changed in some ways over the previous game in terms of what you can do with the rivals. You used to just be able to go into any rivals event in any car, upgraded or not, and just drive around a certain piece of road. But now that's changed. You can only do it in certain types of vehicles that are presets, or like B-class cars, or a specific kind of car or a specific manufacturer. So we're just going to go out there and drive, quite frankly. So yeah, let's get out there. So yeah, there were 4 body styles available. There was this 2-door saloon, there was a 4-door saloon, there was a convertible, and there was a 2-door estate called the Traveller, which had wood on the outside of it. If you've ever seen them, you know what I mean. But yeah, basic motoring for the mass market, quite frankly, and even though obviously the likes of the Mini were around, etc., by the time that this Series 3 version came out, it was nonetheless, still a practical car. And obviously you could get the estate version, which would be practical. You can get a convertible, you certainly wouldn't get a convertible Mini. And yeah, it's just like basic motoring really, and granted, it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's probably got one of the smallest amount of engines on this game, outside of the likes of the BMW Isetta and the Bar 595. So yeah, I'm quite frankly glad that they have put something like this on. I would have liked more things like this, not necessarily more slower cars like this, but just more cars like this in general, quite frankly, because this was a landmark British car. Like I said, first to pass 1 million units. It's still beloved around the country. It's still one of the most common classic cars out there, considering which is obviously to be expected considering how many were made. And yeah, it's not the fastest, like I said, not 31.3 seconds, and it will do 79 miles an hour, which, yeah, isn't great, but it's, you know, the perfect amount for an everyday car that, you know, isn't supposed to be sporty, isn't supposed to be thrashed. It's just meant to be, you know, used every day and used until it, you know, pretty much dies, quite frankly. This is perfect for that. It's just a shame that Morris could not follow it up with something better, or, you know, develop this car further to compete against other cars at the time, because the likes of the Volkswagen Beetle were coming into their own by the time this came to an end. And yeah, it was only a decade or so before the hot hatchback came into force, before this was killed off. So yeah, by no means a great car, but it's an important car in terms of British car culture, and I'm quite frankly glad that it is in the game. So yeah, I can't wait to try out it with some upgrades though, and see what you can really do if you properly upgrade it. So yeah, there we go, there's a Morris Minor 1000. A decent small little car that I'm sure will annoy some people that's in the game, but it's not annoying me. And yeah, it's quite frankly endearing to see a British icon be in the game despite not being a great driver's car. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.